Hello everyone, welcome back to Piedra Designs. This week I thought we'd try to turn up a live edge bowl. What I have mounted up here on the lathe is a piece of English walnut. This piece came from a tree that my great-grandfather planted. I'm not sure if he planted it. He bought it at least and probably planted it on my aunt's place 40 years ago, give or take a couple of years. And last summer they did some trimming on the tree, and this is part of one of the limbs that they took out. I worked it up last summer as soon as I got it cut down to this blank size, and it's been just sitting in my shop all the rest of the fall through the winter and this spring. Obviously it has cracked a little bit. Last night I put some CA glue in those cracks, let that dry overnight. I've got a pretty good crack right here, so I already know for sure I'm not going to turn a recess on this. I'm going to turn a tenon on it, and hopefully that crack doesn't run too deep once we get down in here. But we'll get it rounded out and true up the bottom, get the tenon turned, and we'll see what that crack's doing at that point. Gonna be starting off turning at about 480. Okay, looks like we got through the pith of the limb. Gonna go ahead and knock that nub off of there with a chisel, and then we can start again getting that tenon formed. Alright, I think it's time for a little bit of sanding. Not gonna get too carried away with the sanding yet, because now that I think we're down to our final exterior shape, some of those cracks are still pretty bad. So while I'm sanding, I'm thinking about possibly what we can inlay into that. This is pretty bad, and I think by the time we get down to our final thickness, somewhere around 3/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch on the walls on that. I think this much cracking is might give this thing a tendency to want to come apart on us. We're about roughly 7.5 inches in diameter now. So somewhere around 3/8 or 1/4 of an inch will be pretty good wall thickness. Well, we might leave it a little bit thicker because we're going for live edge and want to leave some of that bark on there to show. But anyways, I'm going to get a little bit of this sanding done, and while I'm sanding, I will think about possibly what to inlay in there. Okay, so we're sanded up to 240 now, and thinking about this and some of the troubles I had on past projects trying to inlay in some very shallow or narrow cracks and how that fought me, I don't think I'm going to actually try to inlay anything on this one. I think what I'm going to do is just fill these cracks in with some black CA and see if I can get a little better luck with that. Right now what I'm going to do is just use a rag and kind of wipe on a little bit of sanding sealer just to try to prevent that black CA from staining the grain around those cracks so bad. By using the rag, I can minimize the amount of the sanding sealer that's actually going down inside the cracks so that the CA glue still has something to bond to, versus where if I just brushed it on, there's a whole lot more sealer loaded in the brush and it can flow down inside those cracks a lot easier. And then that doesn't, if that's sealed up with the sanding sealer, doesn't leave a whole lot for the CA glue to bond to. So I'm just going to wipe this down a little bit. We'll give it some time to dry up. We'll give it some time to cure out, and then we'll come back when it's time to start putting some CA glue in this thing. Alright, so that's had a little bit of time to dry now. We're gonna go ahead and put our black CA in. So this is going to take a while because these cracks are so deep. It's going to take several rounds of filling in, letting it flow as best it will towards the bottom, and then hitting it with the accelerator. So we won't make you watch all of that, but we'll come back once we have that all filled in and ready to start seeing if we can clean up the mess a little bit. Alright, so that's had a couple hours set up now. Let's see if we can get that cleaned up a little bit. Alright, I think a little bit of sanding now, and maybe we'll maybe there's a couple of spots that need to fill in. I'll go ahead and take care of that, get this sanded down a little bit, fill in a couple of spots that need filled in, and we'll come back when we're ready to start putting the finish on this side. Alright, so we got that black CA all finished up in there, and I forgot to turn the camera on, but I do have one coat of sanding sealer on there at this point. I know you can't see it from your angle now. I did use Sandiflex and got sanded up on this bark edge a little bit, but now we're going to move on to the Axe abrasive paste on the bottom of this. Kind of think we need to go another round with that abrasive paste. Yeah, that's a whole lot better now. Move on to the polish and restoring paste. And then I think we'll be ready to turn this thing around. Get it reverse mounted. Start hollowing out. Yep, I think we're going to call that good. We will get this thing turned around and start hollowing out. Well, some of those cracks we got super glue all the way through, which actually is a good thing. It's one less I'll have to fill from the inside. We didn't get it all the way through on all of them, but I think I want to take that down a little bit thinner now. That's still quite chunky. I don't want to get too thin because I want to leave a lot of the bark on here. That was part of the purpose of this bowl, was to do the live edge and leave the bark on. So I don't want to get way down to 1/4 inch or thinner, but I think we need to go a little bit thinner than that. It's still a little thicker maybe than I want it to be, but I don't want to lose that feature. And if I lose that, then I'm going to start cutting into this feature and this one, and I kind of want to leave those. So I think I might just call that good for now. See if I can run the scraper and straighten this out, and then go on about seeing if we can get some CA glue put inside of these cracks in here. Alright, I think I'm going to call that good for the moment. I'm going to go ahead and sand that up a little bit. I won't make you guys watch that again. sand that up. I'll probably go up to about 240 or so, and then I'll wipe that with some sanding sealer and hopefully do a better job of getting that grain sealed up, unlike the outside here. I was a little too chintzy with the sanding sealer, and we still had some of that wick into the end grain there. And in spite of all the sanding, I scraped. I even got the bowl gouge out and took another cut on the outside, just seeing if I could get underneath that, and apparently that wicked in there quite a ways. So I didn't want to end up having the outside of the bowl be in here somewhere trying to get rid of that. So there's a lesson learned already. I'll try to make sure I've got that end grain sealed up a little better. I'll bring you guys back when I get the Sandiflex out, because you guys have never seen that here on my channel. That's a new tool for me, so I'll show you how that works. Finish sanding up this bark and break this sharp corner on it. We'll see you in a little bit. Alright, so I forgot to turn the camera back on to show you guys the Sandiflex. This is 180 grit, and I use this to do the bark and soften up the inside rim of this. I wanted to maintain the bark character, but I wanted to smooth it out. But anyways, I got so frustrated because I don't know if I got a little bit too much of the sanding sealer in some of those cracks or what was going on, but I went through about 3 or 4 times of trying to fill in the last little holes in there, and they just would not fill in. Every time I went to smooth it back off and clean them up, it just came out again. So I was really frustrated with that and just forgot to turn the camera on when I worked the Sandiflex. But we are sanded up through 400 now. We're ready for our coat of sanding sealer on the bark and the inside of this. And as usual, our sanding sealer is just a store-bought shellac, cut down about 50% with denatured alcohol. I'm gonna brush this on the bark first. And we'll give that a few minutes to cure out, and we'll come back and do a little bit of abrasive paste on the inside of that. All right, that sanding sealer's dried up. It's time for our abrasive paste. And with that, we're ready to turn this around and get the tenon off of here. And there it is. I'll get that sanded up and signed, and we'll come back and talk about this thing. All right, so we got it done. This is our live edge English walnut bowl. We came out at about 7 3/4 diameter, and at the very highest point here we're about 3 inches tall. I did leave it quite thick because I wanted to have a lot of bark showing on that, so it's a little heavy for the size bowl it is, but that's what you get. Overall, generally I'm happy with the bowl. I'm not happy with a lot of the CA inlay crack filling. Probably can't get this to focus. On the inside, I do have a bunch of holes still in the CA that I just could not get the CA to adhere in there. Every time I'd go to try to clean it up, they'd just pop back out again, so I'm not sure what was going on with that. Again, this was English walnut, and this was from a limb of a tree, so there wasn't a whole lot of heartwood in it. What little bit we have, actually this right here I think is pretty cool. Looks to me like a hand cupping the bottom of the bowl. So I thought that was pretty cool. Anyways, that's the project for this week. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Be sure and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Share the video. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. From Piedra Designs, thanks for watching.